Hi, I'm Robin White from FantasyWire, and I'm the guy that makes the wire fairies. In this section, we're going to give the fairy hair. I chose Trillian specifically because of her dramatic hair, and it's a good example where I can show you how to attach the hair to the figure and how to make it into a shape that it can hold its own shape, even though it's only made out of soft wire. So we're going to start attaching some hair. Now there's sort of three stages to hair. The first stage is to actually create a frame, because the main body of the hair is a bit like the multi-strand wire that we did for the body. So we're going to do multi-strands, but way more than 8, maybe up to 20 strands at a time. But it's very soft wire, and if I'm trying to do anything elaborate with the hair, and especially with this one, which is a remake of Trillian, she's got a big sort of curl up here. That wire isn't strong enough to support its own shape. So the first stage is to put a frame in that will be invisible when you're sort of looking at the hair, but it's a few very strong wires following the shape that I want the curl of the hair to go into. So that's the first stage. Then we put the bulk of the hair in, but without sort of shaping it all. So we'll almost put all of the hair in around the scalp, and it'll be sort of sticking out like some strange doll with hair poking out in different bundles until we've got enough volume of hair in the head. And then we'll take each part working from the base of the skull, shape the hair and make it follow the frame, and then sort of trim it and sort of make it sort of look the part. What we're going to do to create this frame is to use the same sort of wire that we did for the wing frame. So it's sort of a high tensile type wire, and it's just one strand at a time. Just want to try and get some strands all the way through the scalp. And one way to do it is to grip it with the pliers and then hit the pliers with the hammer to drive it sort of through the scalp. It's not like I'm trying to get a bundle through, which is I use the sort of poking tool. So I can get one wire right through. Now she's going to have quite dramatic hair, so I want something along those lines. This is way too long, so let me cut some of this off. Now if it just left it like that, it could move. So when you're putting hair in, you need to pass it through another way so it's locked in and it can't. So I can get it to come out somewhere else. There we go. So that's quite solid. It can't really go anywhere. Now the way that I want this curl to go, I want it to look like she's spinning. So if she's spinning, I want the curl to sort of come round here. So although I've gone out the back of the head that way, this is the sort of route that I would want the hair to go. And it's going to go all the way sort of around there. You can't get one strand into even this strong stuff, isn't it? It's going to struggle to sort of hold its shape, but get it somewhere like. And then bring the other one round and then get it somewhere like. And then one thing you can do is just gently twist them together. Not trying to do anything where they sort of. Now that instantly makes it a lot stronger. So now I can alter those two. I want it to sort of curl more up like that. So it flicks up at the top. I'm going to worry too much about getting this first one right, because there's going to be a lot goes in, and every one that you add changes how you've attached it to the scalp, and you end up having to adjust them all the time. But that's sort of the curl that I want. So I'm now just going to repeat that until I've got quite a frame in this, coming from different points of the head, following the same sort of path, so I get a nice curl. So I've got the frame in, that's made out of the high tensile wire, and you can see the approximate shape that the hair is going to take. So I'm now going to put the volume of wire in that makes up the hair. I'm not going to try and arrange it yet, I just want to get the volume in place. And I'm actually going for 12 strands of 1.2, which is actually heavier wire than I was actually making the figure out of. And the reason I'm going for that is because this is such a tall structure that needs the support. I can't completely rely on this frame to take all that weight. I've weighed fairies in the past as I've made them to see how much wire I put into different stages so we could advise people on wire volumes. And when you do a structure like this with a lot of hair in it, up to 25% of the weight of this structure can be in the hair. So there's an awful lot of weight that's going to be sort of up there. So I need some strong wire just because of the design of the hair in this case. So what I need to do now is just put volumes of hair into the approximate length. So what I've got is I've got me spike, and I'm going to poke holes through that I can get this lump through. And I need to, just like when we're doing the frame, I need to sort of go in sort of two directions. I can't just pass it through once and expect the hair to stop in place. So let me pull some of this through. I've got an awful lot of wire here, but if I just go to roughly the halfway point, and then I sort of think, well, that's about the length of hair that I want, so I'll just chop some of this off. Now this is going to get really messy. So what I tend to do is to take each bundle, take one strand and wrap it round to keep it into little bundles until I'm ready to sort of address the shape of the hair. So I now need to pass this back through the scalp somewhere in order to lock this wire in. So let me make another hole. So make sure I've got enough wire this side to get up to the top of that curl. Pull this in tight so it's locked into the scalp. Right, so that can't move. So now I can cut this off to be a similar sort of length. Wrap the end up so it's kept into a bundle. And what I want to do is just poke them out. Don't want to do anything with them yet other than get volume of wire into the head. So I'm just going to leave these sort of poking out at all sorts of angles. And I'm just going to fill up the head with wire like that before I start to arrange it. So I'll put it onto time lapse and we'll do that. In filling the head up with the sort of scalp with lots of wires sticking out, I haven't tried to arrange it all yet, and I'll know it on the camera, it must just look a complete sort of rat's nest of a mess. But what you've got is you've still got the main sort of high tensile frame in there, and interspersed is these bundles of wire coming out all around the scalp, and the ends of them are all sort of tied up so they don't get sort of mixed up. What I'm going to do now is to start right from the base of the scalp, so the most difficult ones to get at, and I'm going to use just a piece of dowel. It's actually an old sort of broom stale, and I'm going to wrap the wire around the broom stale to put a curl in it. And this is how you make curly hair. And then once I've got it wrapped around the broom stale, I can turn the wire and the broom stale and I can take that curl right up to the scalp. And that just puts a nice sort of curl in the hair. I don't want this to be overly curly because I want it to sort of look like it's flowing around this curve, and if it's too curly, it'd just look like a mass of curls. But the reason I do curly hair rather than just straight hair has to all follow the same path, which means that I can't sort of overlap them and allow them to sort of support one another. Where if it's curly hair, I can interweave them and they all support themselves. So particularly with there being a big structure like this, having a bit of a curl in it, I only want it to be wavy, but it does mean that I can sort of twirl them round one another and help them to lock it in and sort of create this sort of structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot of curls in these bundles of wire, and then I'm going to follow each of the bundles of wire around the main sort of frame and sort of lock it around the main frame so it all starts to go around the same curl. So I'll put it on time lapse because it's just too much fiddling and detail to do in real time. So that's all the hair curled and following the frame, and you can sort of see, although it's wobbly, it's perfectly capable of sort of supporting itself, and that's the vast majority of the weight. I haven't finished the hair yet, but all that remains to be done is I want to put some more around a sort of fringe to sort of soften a face and sort of fill in sort of around here, but that's the bulk of it. And then I'll do some curls here, so you've got some loose ends just on the sort of outskirts of it. But I think generally speaking, it sort of has the desired effect. So I'm just going to sort of finish that off, and then I'm going to open up all of these bundles where they're twisted together and sort of flare the ends out so it all looks sort of free rather than all tied up the way it is at the moment.